Hello, today we are solving the 10th question in the LeetCode Advanced SQL 50 list. This is evaluate Boolean expression. Now they first give us a small table called variables where we just have the name of the variable and the value. For example, x is 66 and y is 77. It's just like algebra. If you've ever done math or anything, x has a value of 66 and y has a value of 77. And that's all this table represents. Then the second table they give us is called expressions, where we have a variable, a sign, an operator, which I'll explain, and then a second variable. We can see here, this is like a math equation. It's saying x is greater than y. This is saying x is less than y. This is saying x is equal to y, and then it goes on and on. What they essentially want us to do is take these two variables, x and y, and then see if each expression is true. The first one says x greater than y. X is 66, y is 77, so no, it's not. And we want to say false. Then the next one, x is less than y. Yes, it is. 66 is less than 77, so we're going to say true. X is equal to y. No, they're not the same number, so we're going to say false. In fact, this will be our desired output. It's just going to be our same expression table. We're still going to return this. And then we're going to add on a little column at the end saying if this is true or false, if this is true or false, depending on what x and y are, which we see x and y up here. Here it is. This is the desired output. Again, this is just the same three columns from the expression table, left, operator, and right, and then whether it's true or false. So coming up with this mentally, like in our heads, without coding, is pretty easy, right? If you just understand what less than or greater than or equals is. But how do we solve this using SQL? The first thing we must notice is that we have a conditional result, right? This is our output. However, this column that we want to return depends on what we have here, here, and here. If it's x greater than y, then we're returning false. But if it's x less than y, we're returning true. So we are going to have to implement a condition in SQL. And in SQL, we use case to implement conditions. How a case works is we just give it the case keyword, then we say when some condition. So let's use just a random example. We could say when x is greater than y, then do something. In this case, we want to return true. So we'll just put the true, for example, else false. So what this is saying is when this condition is true, x is greater than y, then return this. And if this condition is not true, return this, which is kind of what we want, right? We want to return true or false, depending on if x is less than or equal to or greater than y. However, the problem is that we don't know what x and y are. This table alone does not tell us what x and y are, right? We have no idea if x is greater than or less than y or whatever, because x and y don't have values in these tables. We have to look at this variables table to tell, oh, x is 66 and y is 77. So what we want to do is somehow combine these two tables so that when we go here and say, hey, x is greater than y, we'll be able to tell that x is 66 and y is 77. And how do we combine tables together? We join. What we want to do is join this table on this column, like the name of the variable, x and y, on this column in expressions. So we could say, hey, x here, join these two lines, and we'll get a new column 66. X, right? Everywhere it's X here, we will join it to this line. And then Y will be 77. But we also want to know at the same time what these values are, right? We don't know what this Y and X are. Right now, this row that we've only joined variables to expressions on these two columns, we know X is greater than Y, and we know X is 66. So we have X and the operation, the expression. So we're going to join the variables table again on the same column where name, but this time equal to the right operand. So let me just make some room. And what will we get? Y is 77. So we're going to have another two columns when we join. Y is 77, 66, X is 66. Now look what we have. This will be a row in our triple join table. We join this table with this one twice, but now each row has X 66. So the value of the first operation, x, the operation we want to do, x is greater than y, and then the value of the second value, y is 77. So now we can directly compare x 66, y 77, is 66 greater than 77, right? Use this operation, and then return true or false, just like in the case condition we showed. So my handwriting is garbage. I know it's extremely messy here, but let's go into code and start off with doing this triple join and see what we get. So what we're going to do first is select everything for now from we'll do our variables table first, and we're going to join our main expression table. How are we going to join them? We're going to do this red circle part first, right? The name in the variables table, we want it to equal the left operand in the expressions table. That's how we will combine this to this, and that's how we will get this column here. So the name of the variable is equal to the left operand in the expression table. What does this give us? Here we are. Notice everything in the white is the expressions table. We have, all of our operations that we want to find if it's true or false. But then we joined the variables table wherever this was equal to this. And now what does this tell us? Now we know the value of x and y, right? We know the value of the left operand. We could see 66, 66, 66, 77, etc. And now we want to find the value of this, the right operand. So let's do the exact same thing, but for the right operand. We're going to join again, but this time where the name of the variable is equal to the right operand instead of the left operand. So join variables again on name is equal to expressions dot right operand. But before we run it, notice how we have two tables called variables. We're saying select everything from our variables table, and then we're going to connect it to our expressions table. Then we're going to connect it to our variables table again. Because we're using the same table twice, we have to somehow differentiate them, right? Otherwise, SQL won't know if we're talking about this one or this one. So let's give them names so we can just refer to them differently. We'll call this one V1, and this one will be called V2. So now, if we say V1, it knows we're talking about this one. And if we say V2, like here, it knows we're talking about this one. Let's run it. Perfect. This query now gives us this table. We have the operation we want to do, but not only that, now we actually have the value of x and y everywhere. On this one line, for example, we know y is 77 and x is 66. So we know this will be false. And now we have all of our information in one table. Now we can start using that case condition I talked about. Remember what we want to output, right? We want to have another column here at the end of our table where it has true or false, depending on if the operation is true or false. Right now, we're selecting everything, right? We're returning every column from all of our joined tables. What we want to do is now add another column at the end, which we'll call value. Remember, this column is going to be our conditional column. It's going to be true or false, depending on the values of x and y and what operation is given. So for this row here, what do we want? True or false? It's asking us if x 66 is equal to 66. That's true. So we want to return another value at the end here called true. How do we do that? We're going to use case now. So in our first example, how do we know this is true? Because this value equals this value and operator equals equals. So we're going to say case when operator is an equal sign and the value in our first variables table, this value, is equal to the value in our second variable table, this value. In that case, we want to return true. Now, when else do we return true instead of false? When it's a less than sign and this is smaller than this. So we're going to say when the operator is a less than sign and v1.value is less than v2.value, then we also return true. And then there's one more situation when we return true, when it's a greater than sign and the first one is greater than the second one. So this is a good example, right? 77 is greater than 66, so we want to return true in this case because the v1.value is in fact greater than v2.value. So when the operator is greater than and v1.value is in fact bigger than v2.value, then return true. And that's the only times we return true. Every other time we're gonna return false, right? Like in this example, are v1 and v2 equal to each other or not? We're gonna return false. That's why we're gonna have an else false. If none of these conditions are met, then that means the operation is incorrect and we will return false. And then we end our case. So this will be a new column, right? We're returning all of our previous columns we had and then true or false as another column. Let's call it value, just like they wanted us to. Look at what we have. Exactly what we had before, and then a value. True, false, true, false, true, false. Let's double check. X is equal to X, 66 is equal to 66, true. 77 is less than 66, nope, false, good. 77 is greater than 66, yep. 66 is equal to 77, nope. 66 is less than 77, yes. And then 66 is greater than 77, nope. We are almost there. Remember, we only want to return 4 columns. We only want the left operand, the operator, the right operand, and the value. That's all we want to spit out. So we can remove these 4, the name and the value here. Let's do that. So we're going to select left operand, operator, right operand, and then this is our last column, the value. Run. Perfect. It is accepted. Let's look at our output. Yes, here we are. This is what we get, and this is what we expected. Let's submit. Perfect. Our solution works. So again, this problem can be broken down into 2 steps. First, we want to combine our tables together to get the actual values of x and y in our expressions table. We can't figure out if x is less than y or y is greater than x or whatever if we don't know what x and y are. So once we get that, then we can use our case condition to return true or false depending on what the values and what the operator is. And that's all. Thank you for watching.